right, I love it. Well, you start us off because I reckon you've probably got the most keen sort of judgment on this one.
Laurie Daley named new head coach of the New South Wales Blues.
Yep.
I wouldn't say out of left field. I think I heard rumours of this. I mean, there wasn't too many big coaches putting their hand up for the job. Laurie Daley's obviously been the coach before, probably during one of the worst periods for the New South Wales Blues, where Queensland were the most dominant. Yeah. It's an interesting choice to go back to the well rather than picking someone new and fresh, especially coming off a series win. Go to a coach that, I think his record's like 6-15 or something overall in terms of games. That's not a great record, but as you said, you've got to factor that in with the fact that Queensland was one of their most dominant periods. We'll see how it goes. I don't really have a strong opinion either way, if it's a good choice or a bad choice. Laurie Daley, from what I've heard, is a great bloke. My partner, she had something to do with him during COVID, where she was like giving them COVID tests and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So she met him, and she said he's a great bloke. So I'm happy for him, and he's a New South Wales Blue through and through. But I just for me, it's just more interesting that they went back to someone tried and tested who didn't have the most successful coaching career that. I wouldn't say failed, but with no means, by any metric, would you say was a successful coach?
Yeah.
As I said, the biggest thing was that there wasn't really any other major players or coaches putting their hands up to take it. I think it was like I forgot the names, but they were like assistant coaches at the moment.
So
there
no
wasn't
like
any
big
head
guns
coaches.
that are
There was
currently
no
in the
big guns
NRL.
putting their hand up.
Yeah.
I did hear that Craig Bellamy is going to be a advisor, like an assistant coach, not like an assistant coach, but just an advisor, which is obviously great. I think if the Blues would have, they would have picked Bellamy to be the head coach, but obviously he just didn't want to do it.
So I'm guessing that more goes into just team selection and stuff, and
I think just
sort
more
of behind
just
the
around the
scenes
group.
sort of,
Like what was it last year? Who did the Maroons brought in someone to help? But anyway, like you sort of just have these play. The Blues last year had Ivan Cleary brought in. He wasn't an official assistant coach, but he comes in around the group, sort of offers some insights and just different perspective. And obviously he's coaching at the top of the game. Like Bellamy and Cleary, you could probably say the two best coaches in the entire league. So just having them around, just giving some insights. They know what it's like to win. They know what it's like to a lot of the players they coach themselves. So that's a huge benefit, and just a bit of confidence around the group, and just his sort of personality. I think is good to have around.
He's coming into like a team that's probably well sort of built at the moment, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, like coming off a series win.
Yeah.
It was a good win. I can't honestly, my memory's
so far along.
It seems so far away, but it wasn't really that far away. I think it was pretty dominant. Like I think their team just probably the best New South Wales have looked in a few years, I'd say. Like
the second was a pretty big turn of events, right? Because the first one they lost.
Yeah, but the second one was when they just blew them away.
Dominated
in the first
them.
half. Like probably the most dominant Origin half you'll see.
Yeah.
And then the third one, they went into Suncorp and beat Queensland in a pretty dominant display too. It wasn't really that close. Their forwards did really well. Their back line, which is where the Blues have their advantage, I would say, is in their back line. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure for Daley coming in, a team that's just won against a Queensland team that's going to be desperate this year to get back. They're not going to want to lose two in a row. They'll probably be a bit embarrassed by losing that third game in Suncorp last year. So they're going to have a chip on their shoulder this year. So you're having a coach coming in off a win, pressure on him, who's already had a stint that hasn't gone too well in the coaching gig. Hasn't really been coaching recently. Like he hasn't coached since, I don't know when he left. I think it was around 2016 when Fittler came in, but don't quote me on that. But it was around that time. That's 8 years of not coaching, and the game's changed a fair bit since then. It's gone a lot faster. I know he's still been around the game. Like it's not as if he's been up in the Himalayan mountains just not watching, but the game's changed. It's gotten a lot faster. The rule changes. It's not just going to be a simple plug and play where he can just figure out these new game plans and how to play. He's going to have to do a fair bit of study, and there might be some growing pains. But the thing in Origin, you don't really get it. You get that first game, super important. You lose that, it's nearly series over. It wasn't last year, but so I said it's a bold move to pick someone that's not coaching or in with the players and that sort of thing. But as I said, on the flip side, it's if no one's putting their hands up, what are you supposed to do? So it's sort of a safe pick, and we'll see how it goes. But I don't think there'll be too much opinion either way. Like maybe there's some Blues fans who go, "Why are we going back to this guy?" There'll be some Blues fans who are happy because Daley's a Blues legend and he's a nice guy who's been around the league and doesn't really have anyone who's opposed to him. But I don't think it's a strong choice. Like I don't think you're going to go into the Origin game going, we're better at coach. I think it's just more of a bit of a horizontal sideways move.
Yeah.
So
well, he hasn't been away from the game, right? Like he's
been
done
working
his
for TAB and stuff like that. He's been doing some of the betting. Like he goes on the Matty John show. and like gives the betting insights and what the odds are doing.
So it's not like he came back from the dead from nowhere.
Exactly. But again, there's a difference between being betting and being like sponsorships and going to and giving speeches versus doing the ins and outs of coaching. As I said, the game is changing a lot. Like you speak to anyone, the way the game, because these rule changes, the 6 again rules,
so much quicker.
You watch a game from 2014 to 2024. It's night and day how much faster it is, how much more fatigue there is, especially in Origin. The game's, it's obviously still relatively, the game's still NRL, but all these little tweaks that when you really get into the nuance of it really distinguishes how it's played today versus how it was even just 10 years ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how he grapples with that change and how he grapples with the new style of play. And so give him the benefit of the doubt. You can't critique his resume too harshly because, as I said, that Queensland team, I don't think it would have mattered too many how many coaches you had during that time. The Queensland's team were just, I mean, you had probably 4 or 5 immortals when all things are said and done in that team. You know, Thurston, Cronk, Smith, Slater, and you can throw in maybe Munster, Cherry Evans, down to the later ends. I think Lockyer was in the early stages of that, like at the early run of that dynasty. So, yeah, one of the best teams, Origin teams of all time, if not the best Origin team of all time. So it's difficult to put too much blame on Daley to have to coach through that era. And at the end of the day, did win 1 series, so that's something. But yeah, we'll see how it goes, and I think Blues fans, because they won last year, will have a bit of patience. But if he goes out and gets blown out 3-0, then that could
rise some
people could get sour
eyebrows
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting choice. Nothing too crazy. It's like, oh my goodness, it was kind of like the rumors have been floating around for a little while that he was going to be the coach. So yeah, when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, okay. But yeah, bit of news for the rugby league, which is always good.